Alrighty, if you're just joining me, and for some reason you didn't watch the video for 6.1a first, you should probably go watch that because this is the second half of the notes for 6.1. So anyway, without any further ado, let's pick up with where we left off. So one more thing in the 1920s that's going to change life significantly is transportation. In the 1920s, you're going to see a lot more metro travel. In other words, you've got streetcars that are going to be available. You're going to have like the elevated trains, the trolleys are going to grow significantly. So if you have a little bit of money, you no longer have to live right in the center of town. You're going to start to grow out or move out of town. Now, this is a big deal because what that means is people that are middle class or above are going to move into what become the suburbs. And the people who don't have money are going to live right next to the factories, and that's what we start to refer to as the inner city. So the people left in the inner city are typically people that don't have a lot of money, and so that's why you see more crime. There's often crime where there's poverty. Not that people who are poor are criminals, but because people who are poor are more likely to be desperate to provide for their families. So you are going to see the suburbs just start growing. Cars now are going to make it so that if you live in the country, you don't feel quite as isolated. Some of you live out in the country. Can you imagine living way out in the country and not having a vehicle, having just a horse to get you from point A to point B? I mean, you'd start to go nuts because you have no way to get to, where the stores are, where all the other people are. You'd be very much isolated. But cars are going to change all of that pretty drastically. Around the same time, we have more aviation. You see here the Spirit of St. Louis. This is Charles Lindbergh, the first man to make a transatlantic flight. Excuse me. So even though aviation is going to capture the imagination and the excitement of Americans, it's very expensive to do at the beginning. And so a lot of people aren't going to fly on the front end. In the 1920s, you're also going to see an interesting cultural phenomenon. And this one is significant. Because remember, prior to this, white America and black America have been very much segregated. Most African Americans in the 1800s really lived in the South. Now, and isolated into on the plantation largely. Well, now you've got African Americans who are spread throughout the country, as we've seen the Great Migration and some other things. And so you get an event or a period of time we call the Harlem Renaissance. I have mentioned this a little bit in the past, but the idea here is that for the first time, you've got African Americans who are living in a big city, in this case, New York, in the region of Harlem, and they're living close to each other, and they're starting to swap stories about what life was like for them or their parents down on the plantations, or even what it took them to move off of the plantation or off of the sharecropping farm. And they start to realize that their experience isn't theirs alone, but it's a common experience that they all have. And so you have this feeling of black pride that starts to grow. And these folks start to write about their experiences or paint about their experiences or create music about their experiences. And so this is significant because for the first time, black culture really starts to be spread to audiences that are largely white. So I've got a picture down here of these three boys listening to the radio, okay? So just imagine for a second that they're listening to jazz, okay? Jazz is a largely an instrument that comes from African Americans, or not an instrument, a music that comes from African Americans. But these boys don't know that. They're just listening to music and they love it. Maybe their parents are hardcore racists. I mean, just say, I don't know if this is your grandparents, forgive me on that. But let's say that these kids' grandparents they're hardcore racists. Well, these guys don't know that. They don't know that their kids are listening to jazz, black music, okay? And so this is a big deal because when these kids finally find out that, this performer, that performer is an African American, they think, oh, I love that music. It doesn't, it helps. I like it. So this starts in a very simple way to break down racial barriers. If you say, I like some art that comes out of a community that's different than mine, that's a really healthy place to be. And that's what we're going to start to see with the Harlem Renaissance. Unfortunately, you're also going to see a little bit of backlash to the widespreading of African Americans. If you see African Americans show up in popular media from the time, the plays, the movies, a lot of times they're portrayed as cultural stereotypes. Even a lot of the paintings, you'll still see the very dark skin with big red lips that are drawn around, and it's a very offensive stereotype. There's a movie that comes out from this time period called The Birth of a Nation. You can see the poster for it over on the left. This is a movie. It's about 3 hours long. It's a silent film. It's in the public domain. If you want to go out to YouTube and watch it, it's there. But it really portrays what a Southerner, D.W. Griffiths, what he believes happened in the South during Reconstruction and after. So he shows how the Civil War was. He shows how bad it was when the North tries to free the slave, and how the former slaves don't even know, how to do anything, and they're backwards and they're like children, and how there's just chaos in the South because the Union Army is there. And he portrays very clearly in this film the idea that the KKK is just trying to restore order to the South. It's trying to bring back the glory and honor that it once possessed. And it's only trying to restore the social order. Well, people watch this and people say, man, those Klansmen are like great guys, so I should go join the Klan. And in the 1920s, the Klan membership in the Klan starts to grow, even though we're way past the period where it first existed. So this is problematic. And also, we'll talk about this a little bit in the future, it's not just going to be in the South. Now you're going to see people all over the country joining the Klan, which is a real problem. All right, so there we are. That's standard 6.1. We've got a little bit more to go, but hopefully this helps you get there. If you have any questions about anything that I've said, you can email me at ngallion@greermiddlecollege.org, and I'm happy to answer your questions. If there's anything else I can do for you, don't hesitate to drop me a line. And I don't know, hopefully this is helpful. I will talk to you guys soon.